Well, thank you very much for allowing me to address this conference, and especially thanks to Andre Lima. With my contribution, I can claim already some tradition. In some sense, it's difficult to contribute for me. I'm contributing as outsider to a debate on topics that are very much questions that fully develop their messages and meanings in national or even local contexts. This is true for both education on the one hand and administration and law at the same time on the other hand. However, there are also some general questions, and they are general in two ways. Law and administration are obviously relevant for everything what we do. And at the same time, we see an increasing relevance, law and administration taking over, reaching into all pores of life and determining the professional space and our professional activities. It does not really matter much that this is a complaint that we can find already formulated, for instance, by Aristotle or Socrates. We take this frequently as a matter of heteronomy, an external power and rationality taking over. My thesis will be, however, talking about increasing meaning of juridification and administration is an expression of the very same rationality that we claim as generally our own academic mission of Western Enlightenment. This may sound to some of you a provocative argument, and it will take some effort to develop it in full, but with some catchwords I may point out the fundamental critique to understand here. First, Western Enlightenment, that's this ideology, is very much guided by the idea that progress equals distancing from nature. This went hand in hand with the development of anthropocentric interpretations of the world. And it went, to some extent paradoxically, hand in hand with the process of desocialization. This culminated at the end in the absolutist state, or later even in the absolute state. The second point, rather than developing an integrated rationality in this Enlightenment tradition, we saw with the Renaissance the emergence of understanding relationality as something that understanding rationality as something that is inherent to and in everything. Omne ens habet aliquod esse proprium. Every entity has a singular essence. This does not mean anything else that we are creating externalities. Rationality is not genuinely about action, but about detecting the rationality and following its requirements. Actually, it is very consequent conclusion of Christianity. Third point. This way we created not least the methodology of the methodological individualism, the core of Western social science. At its heart, we find the survival instinct, excessive individualism that is guided by excessive hoarding of goods and money, and that is finally steered by equally excessive means of control. We know all these discussions going on from Smith, Hobbes, in terms of political theory, and the need to control our own being. Fourth and finally, this is futile ground for administration and legal systems, taking over according to their own rules. And they do it to such an extent that they even strangulate themselves. Law is talking about law, and it is developing a political system that is not political anymore, at least it's seemingly not political anymore, but it's following administrative and legal rules. Now, I don't want to end with a negative outlook. I want to a fifth point, a more positive note, and looking with this for reorientation, where I see in particular 4 points. The need to reintroduce the social, not as normative concept, but as responsible reflection of the means and mode of production in the light of a socio-ecological sustainable way. We have to fully acknowledge the public character of educational systems and processes. Then third, we have to accept that education is more indifferent to simply transfer knowledge and skills. Then finally, fourth, we have to orient education as process, see it as process that actively engages in public spaces and on public issues. Law and administration can then actually play an important positive role. And from various contexts that Andrei being an important part of this, I know that there's fertile ground here in Russia to acknowledge also this direction of thinking. Thank you very much for your kind attention.